Today on Capitol Hill, the Senate is set to vote soon on a war powers measure to limit President Trump's authority to continue using military force against Iran without congressional approval. A short time ago, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that having U.S. boots on the ground in Iran is not part of the plan, quote, at this time. Some lawmakers are growing increasingly concerned about the scope of this war that has already claimed 6 American lives. We're joined now by Democratic Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois. She serves on both the Senate Armed Services Committee and the Foreign Relations Committee. She is also a combat wounded Iraq War veteran. Senator, thank you for being with us. And you've been briefed in a classified setting. Do you have a clear understanding from that of what the goal line is for this military operation, for this war?
No, I do not, and I am deeply concerned that I don't think the Trump administration knows what their own goal line is either. They couldn't even convince the members that were in the briefing that there was an imminent danger to the United States that justified them launching a war of choice without congressional approval or oversight. And when asked if they intended to have boots on the ground or what would happen next, and is it regime change or not regime change, they were unable to answer those questions.
Are your Republican colleagues concerned?
There were some concerns from my Republican colleagues at the briefing, and some of them expressed themselves in front of all of us in that setting. But also, I think that there is a belief among some of my Republican colleagues that, it's too late to stop him now, but frankly, we need to do our job as the United States Senate. It's why I'm here. The voters of Illinois voted for me to be here to provide those checks and balances. And frankly, President Trump promised no more wars, lower costs, and now he's marched us into a war of choice without any congressional oversight, without any plan for an off-ramp.
The CIA is working to arm Kurdish forces with the aim of fomenting a popular uprising in Iran, according to multiple people familiar with this thinking. Could that work, and what dynamics should they be tracking on that?
Well, I mean, in theory, it could work if there's nobody else there. The problem we have is the Trump administration, due to their poor planning, have created a power vacuum in Iran. They've killed off the supreme leader, which is great. I am not shedding a tear for a man who ordered the deaths of thousands of his own citizens. But, they've cut off the head of the biggest snake, and now there are all these other snakes that are there. And the people who are most organized right now are not Kurdish freedom fighters, are not Iranian democracy protesters. The people who are most organized and funded are terrorist groups. They're basically creating a power vacuum and an environment where groups like ISIS could emerge in the region, which will further destabilize the Middle East and further put America and America's national interests in greater jeopardy.
Secretary Pete Hegseth this morning said that the 6 service members who were killed were America's best and that the U.S. will avenge them. And he also said this.
This is what the fake news misses. We've taken control of Iran's airspace and waterways without boots on the ground. We control their fate. But when a few drones get through or tragic things happen, it's front page news. I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad, but try for once to report the reality.
What is your reaction to that?
Well, our troops are America's best. I know them personally. They're my friends, my buddies. These are people who will give of themselves time and again. And when this nation calls, they answer the call. That is why it is beholden upon those of us who are in the halls of power to make sure that we never ask our troops to sacrifice for something that we have not accurately planned for, that we have not safeguarded their service by making sure that we're not going to enter them into endless wars where we continue to sacrifice their lives because we have not done our job of the proper planning and what we're going to do for the next steps. As far as his, Hegseth's obsession with good coverage for President Trump, well, you know what? not only does this war of choice go against what Americans want, Trump's obsession with military adventurism is also undermining our military readiness. And in fact, he's drawing down our resources. It's distracting us from some of our biggest adversaries, the PRC, for example. And we're continuing to strain our military with wars of choice all over the world. And this is going to make our enemies doubt whether or not we're going to have the capacity to truly withstand an attack from an adversary like the PRC if it happens.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said Americans don't want their government focused on what he called another endless war in the Middle East that is going to end in failure. And he got blowback for saying it's going to end in failure. We just spoke with David Axelrod, and he cautioned Democrats against appearing to root for failure. What do you think about that, and what's your message to your colleagues?
Well, what my message is actually to Donald Trump. I want to know what his end state is. What is a successful mission for him? Is that regime change, or is it not regime change in Iran? He said it both times. First, they said they want a regime change. Then they said they don't want regime change. He said he would stand with peaceful demonstrators and democracy protesters in Iran, but then they're not doing anything to support those folks. Look, our men and women in uniform will always show up. They will execute to the highest levels of professionalism and capabilities. Unfortunately, their commander-in-chief is not capable of doing that, and their Secretary of Defense is not capable of doing that. I want to make sure that I do my job here in the Senate to make the White House define what that mission is and how do we end the mission in a successful way and how do we get our troops home.
Senator Tammy Duckworth, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Coming up, Israel is bombarding Lebanon.